So we all know,
hey man, hello, and
that there is nothing wrong with
so if you're here
knowing
on this,
a gay guy.
picking up
Heck,
on this on episode 30
I used to have
here,
I
actually
had a friend. He
you
passed
go
away
back
several years ago,
and hit
but was he was gay, and I mean.
29.
He taught me
you're going to be listening
quite
to
a bit
episode 30 is
about if you wanted to find some of the good-looking straight women.
This is both of them.
Go to a gay bar, dude.
A lot longer.
If you're a single guy and you want to,
what they're typically not what
you want to find
what needed to be talked about.
The good-looking straight
but
women.
We're talking about
they go to gay bars because they don't want to have to deal with the constant onslaught of guys hitting on them.
Totally wrong. And so to do
with that kind of
to get the full
works into the hypersexuality. Real man should have many sexual partners as he can.
Previous episode
again,
29.
26%.
Start from there.
No, that's
you'll pretty much pick up what I'm talking about on here also.
Also, real men should never say no to sex. Again, 28%.
And
no, they don't agree with that statement at all.
If you're
real men,
episode 29, you're ready for episode 30, guys.
Are we?
Because this is another hour-long epised.
Men as whole, do we like sex?
Let's get started.
Yeah, we do. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we have testosterone. A lot more testosterone.
Hello and welcome to Relax System Podcast,
and that's
helps
kind of the main
their relationship
drive
with themselves. I am your host, Brian,
let's get it on.
I am a men's life and
that's why whenever
coach who is
young men, when they start
to understand that you don't
hit
have
puberty,
to
they're
at your
just
own
walking around.
You can
walk
live
around with
your
big
dream.
notebooks in front of the garage because
pursue
their body is just an overdose.
Join me as I change the
testosterone
mindset and attitudes of men.
They spend
they can be the leaders.
30 hours a day in the bathroom. Men have sex or want to have sex a lot more than what women do. And it's not that women don't like sex, but it's because we just, as a guy, we take sex to mean something a lot more different than what we take, than what I believe that women take sex to be. Men view sex as a means of being accepted by their wives and by their girlfriends. Yeah, there's times where in today's society, and I'm pointing to society in general, I know, but when it comes to sex, that's what it's been okay. It's been all right. It's like, hey, got to the one night stand. Let's meet a chick at the bar and let's go bang her. And that's not, that happens, yes. But at the same time, a lot of times the women that those guys pick up are out for the very same thing. So it's not just a hypersexuality type of instance that's only on men. Women have been hypersexualized in the recent decades. Real man should never say no to sex. No, you get married, you learn real quick you better say no to sex or you're going to end up losing parts of your body. And you don't want to lose those parts of your body because, well, we like that part of our body. It's what defines us as being a guy. If we don't have that, then, we're basically going to end up, looking funny. We're going to look like a Ken doll. So when it comes to sex, like I said, sex to men is a part of an emotional acceptance that we have. And in all reality, it's also, emotionally, it's an emotional thing for women too. If you ever have a problem getting it up one time, watch your wife or your girlfriend beat herself up thinking that it's her problem because you weren't turned on. Though in all reality, there might be something there's a thought that was going through your head that is just killing any sense of the mood. It may just be that you had your boss say something and it's just eating at you. Well, having your boss in your head and trying to have sex at the same time, it's not going to happen because, well, you've got your boss in your head. You don't want your boss in your head while you're trying to be aroused. You can't, it's almost physically impossible to do that. You may have had an argument with your wife, the day before, and she said something, and that's replaying in your head while you're seeing her. You're still letting that emotional problem kick around in your skull. And if you've got an animosity towards some type of animosity or feeling of being unjustly accused of something by the person who you love, you're not going to want to have sex with them. So there's a lot of times that guys aren't hypersexual, and we know, like I said, we know that we're going to have to say no to sex. And we're okay with it because we have someone that we can go back to who will give us the encouragement and the positive affirmation of us being good, proper men living at our house. So men are not quite as hypersexual, though we do like to look boobs a lot. I mean, come on, the sound, it's what we like, unless you're a gay man. And then, actually, I know, honestly, several of the gay men, especially my friend who passed, Freddie, he would comment on women's breasts all day long. I think a lot of times gay men like boobs more than straight men sometimes. So there's no defined line on any of that. So, but anyhow, now let's go on to pillar 7 because, well, we're talking sex and it's just, anyhow. Pillar 7, aggression and control. Men should use violence to get respect if necessary. Well, obviously that being the lowest one of 23%, the answer is no. We don't need to use aggression or control to get respect. And I've talked about this and last week on the as a blog post, we're talking about respect and things of that nature. Violence and losing your cool is the worst way to gain respect. And now there are those emotionally immature men, which are the 23%, who will blow their top at the slightest case. And those guys, none of those guys actually have respect. They have fear. They're mistaking fear and aggression, fear of aggression as being respect. And that's the farthest from the truth. You're not being a respectable man because you have everybody afraid of you blowing your top. If you're walking around like a crate of nitroglycerin, they're not respecting you. They're afraid of you. Men should always have the final say about decisions in a relationship. Really, try that. Try saying, and that's my final word. I'm putting my foot down, and watch what your wife does. And that's probably also the reason why 34% only 34% agreed. I bet you those 34% were probably unmarried men. First time you try that, you probably get a frozen chicken upside your head, and you quickly realize, oh, yeah. Not to mention, pay attention to anybody, especially if you're married, and even the older couples. You may have the most manliest granddad around. He may be the roughest, toughest cowboy. He goes out and even at 72, he may still be able to throw a calf onto the ground and get it and hold it down while he brands it. Maybe he does it the old fashioned way. But you watch what he does when he gets up to the house, especially if he knows that today is mopping day. You don't walk into the house with your dirty, nasty boots on, especially if grandma just got finished mopping the floor. Now, are you going to have disagreements as to the route as to how you're going to achieve a particular set of goals? Oh, yeah. And that's what discussions are about. That's why sometimes those discussions may get a little bit heated because you may see something one way and the wife is going to see something a different way. But the funny thing is that y'all both are seeing the same objective. And yeah, depending on what type of emotional maturity you have, you may want to try and this is my final word, But if you have if you're mature enough emotionally, you will come to a solution. You may not like the solution, and she's may not like the solution, but you will be able to find a solution. And that's part of marriage. That's part of any relationship. You're going to have to give and take. And when I say most, that is excluding the 34%, know that. I'm too good looking for math, so I'm not going to even try it. If a guy or girlfriend has a wife, he deserves to know where they are at all the time. Well, no, but I know a lot of women who are the exact same way. Now they say that 46% said that they agree. Okay. And that makes me wonder, what do they mean by know where they are all the time? Is that meaning keeping tabs on somebody? Like, well, you said you were going to go to the hair salon and then you were going to go get groceries. Why do you have a McDonald's cup in your hand? There may be those types of guys, but those types of guys are few and far between. And those are guys who are incredibly insecure about themselves and are the ones who, a guy looks at his wife's general direction, not even directly at her, and he goes into a fit of jealousy. Those are the emotionally insecure guys that often digress into using physical violence to get their way. They take control in a tyrannical form. And those are the guys who they don't fit. They're not real men when they act like little boys and want to punch somebody because they don't get the way. But if a normal guy would like to know where his wife, there's been several times I've come home and go, hey, and called her up. Hey, sweets, where you hiding at? And it's just because you want to make sure that she's okay. We do have fears that our wife may have been, kidnapped or something. We have those fears of of the unknown. It's not we're keeping tabs on our wives. And I have my wife call from time to time. Well, actually, and every day, whenever I'm driving, I get to the place where I'm stopping for the night. I call her up and let her know where I'm at. That's called respect. You want to have mutual respect. If she's planning on going to go see her friend Sherry over in Lawton, Oklahoma, it's kind of a good thing to know, hey, I'm going to be going to Lawton for about 4 days, so you're not going to be seeing me when you get home. Well, that's kind of a good thing to know instead of sitting there going, there are probably guys out there who don't care, but there are people who take it to the extreme. I know my son had a girlfriend who had to be by his side at all times. He got fired from a job because she was wanting to be there and wait around while he worked. There are those who have that type of insecurity that do cause a problem, but it's not the type that they are insinuating as being aggressive or controlling. Now, there were other types, there were other suggestions or other points about the man box that were not actually listed in this, but are listed by other studies and other blog posts about it. And some of the other issues and problems that they brought up about were along the lines of boys are more likely to take risks and partake in risky behavior. And with that, yeah, you're right. Boys around the 15, about the 12 to 19, or actually about 12 to 25, take more risks and do things that are more risky. And that ranges from seeing who can ride their bike fastest down the hill to trying something stupid like, again, strapping themselves to or sitting in a wagon and see if they can ride the Western Flyer wagon down a hill. Boys do things. They're adventurous. They're inquisitive. They're going to do things. Hey, what happens if I jump off the roof with an umbrella? Can I float? That's in all reality, that's actually just natural curiosity. That is, they're going to take those risks, and taking those risks is actually a good thing because one, it puts them in the realm of discomfort. Cause yeah, more times than not, riding the Western Flyer down in a wagon, or riding the Western Flyer wagon down a hill, if I can get it right. So let's start with the simple words. You're going to end up wiping out somewhere along the way. You're going to roll. You're going to get road rashes. You may chip a tooth. You may break an arm. All these are tendencies to happen when it comes with boys. Boys will be boys. When that phrase is being used, that's what they're meaning. They're going to do stupid shit. And because they're out doing boy stuff, there are those out there who think that that's wrong and that boys should be more careful. Well, I disagree. They need to get out and get into the realm of discomfort. They should live their lives dangerously. Let boys these days, we need to let our boys do dangerous stuff. Now, I'm not saying, practice sword fighting with real swords, but, if they've got sticks in their hands and they're playing sword fights, they're going to learn from sword fighting with sticks. They're going to learn, oh, that's why you have hand guards, because you're going to get your knuckles smacked with a stick if you don't. Oh, that's why you don't ride a wagon down a hill, because the steering is really wonky. You make one little move and you make a really hard turn. There's learning lessons. There's physics, and they learn about physics, and they learn about all different things. And they also gives them the opportunity for glory and to be accepted by their peers. And now, again, people want to go, well, that's a bad thing. They shouldn't be doing dangerous stuff to be accepted by their peers. That's what we're talking about. That's a dangerous thing. No, that's great. It teaches them to be secure in what their abilities are. If they try something and they fail, and they try it again, they fail, they might just go, you know what? I've tried jumping over this bar ditch 4 different times. My legs don't go fast enough. I can't get my bike into the air far enough to clear this bar ditch. So obviously I am not very good at jumping bikes. That's a good thing that they learn. And the only way they're going to learn is not by having some adults lord over them going, you're not good enough at jumping at this. That does them no good whatsoever. To be able to learn that to themselves, to let them figure it out, let them struggle, is the most important part of letting a child grow up. Let them figure it out. Let them understand what they can and can't do, because they're going to get the value that they need. While if you have teachers standing around going, you don't want to play dodgeball because you're going to hurt somebody. You're going to make the first kid out. He's going to feel bad. Well, it's also going to teach the first kid out to learn how to duck faster too. There's a lot of advantages to competitions, and boys thrive on competition. Girls thrive on competition. If it didn't, then there wouldn't be girl basketball. There wouldn't be the girl sports that are out there. Girls are just as competitive as boys. And that's one thing that a lot of people who are against masculinity don't understand. Boys do things as a means of being and act more fearless than girls. And we encourage that, and that rightfully should be encouraged. Let them do things. Don't let their actions be controlled by fear, because that does nothing but hold you back and keeps you small. We play and have small ideas out of this fact that we are afraid. And even grown men today, we don't strive to the most to our capability, because we are too afraid of what could possibly happen. And those could possibly happens very rarely ever actually happen. If you want to be successful, you're going to have to take risks, and you can't take risks if you're playing it safe. Now, boys, they also say that people men take the fact that we have to be successful way too seriously. No, actually, we have to be successful. Women have to be successful. If we don't have a sense of being successful, then we're not going to be able to grow as a person. If we're like, just sit right here in our house and be comfortable, that is the victim mindset actually talking. That is where a lot of the feminists who want to denigrate the power of what masculinity is and the benefits that masculinity have, they are intimidated by the fact that men actually go out and take the action. They want to say, well, men get the higher paying jobs. And the reason why they get the higher paying jobs is because they ask for the higher paying jobs. They actually take the action. A lot of people want to play the victim, and because of their virtuous thought of being a victim, thinks that they have the ability to get something just because they are the victim. And that's the worst reason of all. To be given something is just because you're a victim. No. If you're tired of being a victim, then stand up, dust your butt off, and go at it like a man. It wouldn't hurt for women to, take some of the actions that men do. Yeah, it's kind of scary. It's out of your comfort zone. But guess what? If it works for men, if you want to get a higher paying job and you want to become an executive, then you probably should look at the men and see what they're doing. And guess what? It's not them standing around grabbing their crotch and telling dirty jokes. They're going out there. They're not being offended at every damn drop of the hat. They look at the situation in a particular context, and when they see that there is an opportunity, they take it. They take the actions. But to be able to take the actions, to be able to get that high-paying job, or to get that particular beautiful woman, a man has to actually take the risk and be vulnerable enough to go out and ask for it. Now, they also claim that men engage in watching a whole lot more pornography. Now, with this part, that little line, I will actually agree. Men, we watch a heck of a lot more porn, and I'm actually coming to understand a little bit more that pornography I've known pornography can be a problem, but psychologically, pornography causes other types of problems. And the biggest problem is just, it appears to be on a level of connection. And it's not because we're seeing a woman who is better looking than our wife. It is not because we're looking at a man who has a bigger penis than we do. It's not even that. It's the fact that it's the instant, well, it's not quite instant gratification, but it gives you that endorphin and serotonin bump that you're really wanting. And a lot of people will attribute that to some type of addiction. And I'm not at that level yet. I don't see that as being an addiction. But I have noticed that you look at the world differently when you cut porn out of your life. Now, and I have recently actually done that myself. I had, for the longest time, had no problem looking at porn. I would look at it from time to time. It was something to do. But, and I would joke around with friends a lot of times because there's a couple of survey things that I take and I do, and I would joke with them. I was like, well, the only thing that one of the surveys would do is just find out that I look at a lot of porn a lot. So, and it's not that I looked at it a lot, but it was on a weekly basis for a while. It was, might be 2 or 3 days in a row, but then I wouldn't look at it again till sometime the following week. But it was usually on a weekly basis. I was watching one or two pornographic clips. And I've realized, since I've actually stopped watching porn and been away from looking at it and haven't looked at it in about a month now, that a lot of me looking at that porn is actually coming from a victim mindset. It's like, well, my wife doesn't want to have sex, so I'm going to at least watch somebody else have some, And it was because I was having that victim mindset. And yes, I do suffer from victim mindset just as much as other people. When I recognize it, I do my darndest to make sure I get away from it. And with that, because I've stepped away from it, I now see where the victim mindset and the illogical line of thinking that victim mindset plays in. So I'm kind of starting to see a bit, not that there's an addiction, because I don't see it as like I said, as an addiction yet, but why men turn to porn as boys, again, we're walking testosterone factories, and we don't have a girlfriend, or we're not even have enough self-confidence to walk up to a girl and go, "Hey, how you doing?" and try to get to know her. We're too busy going, "Dude, they're going to see this boner in my pants. I got to stand over here. Just don't look. We're just embarrassed of the changes that our own bodies are making. And, we might squeak a little bit, we've got all these barriers that we have to overcome to be able to talk to a girl. And from there, you've still got barriers that you have to deal with, even before you get to the point to where you're actually kissing a girl, or get even further getting, to second base, third base, or even having sex. So there's a lot of barriers that you guys have to go through. And it is easier to not even face those barriers and to turn to pornography. Now, when I was growing up, it was Playboy and Penthouse. And so you read a lot of the Penthouse forums and the stories and things like that. And you looked at the Playboy centerfolds. And if you came across, like a hustler, and you were like, oh, you've got all these, it was all these different, you came across the secret stash that the older boys had. And so when the internet came on and all of a sudden pornography is readily available and it's free, then it's guys have an easy access to not having to do the hard work of courting even your wife. Even if you're married, you still have to court her, and you have to treat her like your girlfriend still. And you have to make her have that emotional connection to be able to still have sex. And if you don't, then it dwindles, it disappears, it dies off. And all of a sudden you're wondering, it's like, well, we haven't had sex in a year. Why is that? Or guys start fretting and they're like, oh, well, I need to get testosterone boosts and shots, and I need to get, all this other stuff. And there's mind games that you're playing with yourself. And those mind games are keeping you from being able to fully connect and be present with the one you love, the one you said I do, and that you have spent 25 years with. Now, another aspect is the emotionless. We're supposed to be emotionless. Well, no, we're not supposed to be emotionless. We're human beings. We're men. We have emotions. A lot of people who are emotionally insecure will actually end up having will strike out on the easiest emotions to have. Well, I'm going to rage and blah, somebody made me mad. Those are emotionally immature men. But when it comes to guys, we actually don't want to fly off the handle at every little thing that goes wrong. And when you're in the heat of a battle, you don't want to be gripped with fear. You have to fight the enemy. You have to do what's needed of you and what's being asked of you. And if you are allowing emotions to run roughshod over you, you're going to wind up being dead. So there's a reason why men have a stoic side to them. Now, the problem that you have actually happens with both sexes, and that is if you don't address those emotions, you lead into actual addictions like alcoholism, overeating, illicit drugs, things like that actually are used to numb the emotions trying to be felt. So you have to process the emotions. Now, you don't have to process them at that moment, but when you are in a place that you can process them, you should allow yourself to actually process those emotions. And so a lot of times, we're not going to sit there and freak out. We're going to do what needs to be done. And though people around us want us to be, dive into the sloppy, messy, disaster that is an emotional meltdown, when it's not the time. And that's where a lot of men often get viewed as being, emotionally cold. And sometimes they are. Sometimes we just we keep the emotions dialed way, way down, and because of that, we don't have the connections. And a lot of guys who don't have the connections wonder what's wrong with them and what's going on. Another problem that they say a lot of men have is actually on both sides, and that's have a higher problem with mental health. I think a lot of it, I'm going to point fingers at this one because I believe that a lot of the mental health problems actually become from the outside influences outside of the house. As boys grow up, it's the media, it's school, it's a whole bunch of other things. Because schools these days honestly treat boys as broken girls. They want them to just sit still, sit there and learn everything right then and there. Do not get up, do not talk, do not move. And for a boy, that is next to freaking impossible. That's the reason why recess is needed. And that's why you should have more recesses for boys. And if you want boys to really learn, get them outdoors to learn. Get them to teach them the stuff hands on. Get them to where they're actually moving and doing stuff and being able to move. But because we are now treat boys as if and drug them up with Ritalin and things like that is because they want to view them as if they are just broken girls. And there's a fundamental differences between both sexes. And if you don't address the strengths and you don't address boys properly, you're not going to have a healthily balanced boy as you want. And that boy is going to grow up into a man who still doesn't have that healthy balance. I also blame a lot of our colleges these days for the suicide rates. And that's because they have decided to try to blur the line. Oh, we don't want men to be men. We don't want men to have masculinity. If you want to be a boy one day and a girl the next, and the next to the boy, and next to a rhinoceros and a unicorn and a butterfly and a fern and a tree and a house and a car on all the following days, hey, you can. That's fine. That postmodern deconstructionism is a lot of it. There are reasons why we have social constructs, and trying to ignore those social constructs just confuses people even more. And yes, I do believe a lot of people are just flat out confused. I'm not saying gay people are confused. But people who want to be a gender fluid, I have a hard time saying that, oh, okay, yeah, you're both sexes at once. And don't even go into the whole intersex debate. There are outliers. There are extremes on both ends. Okay. We get that. But the fact that the schools are wanting to try to break down what masculinity is, I think is a lot of the problem. Address men for being men. Don't address them as being, well, you're a horrible person. Well, guys don't want to be viewed as a horrible creature because they were born that way. All right. We're not going to be viewed that. And when you're being viewed as being a horrible creature at all times because of something you have no control over, and that being a man, then yeah, there's going to be lots of depression. They may try to fit themselves into being gender fluid and being a unicorn one day. And then they wonder why they still don't feel complete. And that's because in all reality, you are a guy, and a lot of them weren't given the ability to be, or the opportunity to learn how to be confident in who they are. Now, because we aren't being confident in who we are, and teaching confidence is one of the reasons why they're also saying boys are more prone to being bullies. Well, I'm seeing a lot of girls who are being bullies, and girls are just as ruthless and even more so when it comes to guys. But again, this is where parents could actually fix this problem really easily. And that would be if you have a boy who is or girl, as a matter of fact, who's being bullied, get them into martial arts, get them into doing karate, taekwondo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, whatever. Get them into that, because that teaches them several different things. One, discipline, but also gives them the confidence as they work their way up the different belt levels that gives them the discipline and because of the discipline, they build the confidence. And when they will be confident enough that when some bully comes up and wants to try to poke them in the chest because they're this little skinny kid, that bully will wonder what in the hell happened when they get socked in the nose. Now, the schools again are the problem because they don't address the actual problem. When all of a sudden a boy who's being bullied stands up to himself and just socks the kid in the nose, all of a sudden they're kicked out of the school because they were fighting. And that's where parents actually have to come into play. Instead of going, oh, my boy is perfect and coming into the defense all the time. There's an overdoing of that. But at the same time, there is not enough times where the parents are going, you know what? It's okay, son. You got suspended from school. Support the child because he did do the right thing, and support him and go, dude, you defended yourself. They told you can't go to school for 2 months. Okay, well, we'll homeschool you until then. There's solutions to that. And you will let them know that, yeah, there are ramifications for doing what's right. And if you do and if you accept those ramifications, you will be stronger, more confident, and you can still, when you go back into school, hold yourself high. And you can keep that chin up because you know what you did was right. Now, I wanted to also address real quickly, and wow, we've almost got a 2-hour discussion going on here. I knew this was going to be a long one. What are men in reality? What do we do? Well, we have aspects of all those 7 pillars, but what those 7 pillars are and why we take risks and all that is because we protect those who are close to us. There are times that, yes, we have to get aggressive. There are times we have to use even deadly force on someone because they have invaded our home. There are times and places for everything, and we have to protect those closest to us. And that might mean we have to punch somebody in the face. That might mean we have to use a gun to protect our castle. So we protect. We also serve. We serve our communities. And those serving the communities also means we may have a business. I serve the community by helping men to have a stronger connection with their sons. Men also provide for their family. And that goes back to men are typically the breadwinner. We go out, we make the money, we bring it home. And it's not that we then lord over the money, because 90% of the time we'll hand the money over to the wife and go, hey, this is what I made. This is what I made for you today. And we hand it to our wives, and she takes it, and she may go off and spend the money, or you may, and when I say spend the money, I mean spend it on the bills and things like that, buying the food. Or it may be where the husband and wife sit down and they do the budget together, and there's ways that they do that. But either way, the man provides for the family. That is one of our social constructs that I believe is actually right. So, but life is messy. And in the end, I would have to say at the end of Tony's TED Talk, with Tony Porter, the guy who I was talking about at the beginning, all 2 hours ago, talked about it. Or actually, I think I'm going to divide this up. This will actually be 2 1-hour episodes. And then I'm thinking about this. So, I agree with Tony at the end of his TED Talk, and that because in all reality, that's why I'm doing this site, is because helping men to understand what those emotions are, because we aren't taught what our emotions are in school. Girls aren't taught, nor are guys, but girls inherently have a habit of talking about their emotions a lot more. Men, we're not emotionless beings. We have emotions. We share those emotions with those closest to us. We do talk about our emotions. We talk about when we're scared to take a leap, and we talk about those fears and those apprehensions and the anxiety that we have in the proper settings. And that's what we do, like with coaching not coaching, with the mastermind. If you're having problems, one of the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to start talking about, hey, dude, I can't do this. I am scared to death to leave my business to start this job. If you happen to be starting a job, I'm scared to death of being able to do that. And that's good. You should talk about that. To be able to fully process an emotion, you have to get it out. You have to talk about it. Whether it's even just to yourself. But a lot of times, if you have a sounding board, a person, maybe it is a coach, maybe it's a men's group, like the Conclave of Men. These things help you to be able to process that information and to make a proper decision. But to be able to do so, you have to understand that what different emotions are. It's not just happy, sad, angry. We're beyond just those types of emotions. There's all those finer emotions of sad. There's anxiety. There's melancholy, all these different emotions, and it's okay. Tony states this, and this is what I'm agreeing with. It is okay to not be dominating. It's okay to have feelings and emotions. It's okay to promote equality. It is okay to have women who are just friends, and it is okay to be whole. That statement there, you miss if you end up just tuning out of the video at the beginning. And at the end, that's what I'm wanting to try to promote. It's not that men are not inherently equal, but we all are in the same boat. We all have problems where our sons we don't have the connection to the son that we most absolutely desire to have. We don't have the connection with our daughters that we most desperately want to have. We don't have the connections with our wives that we most desperately want to have. And sometimes we screw up, and we have to be okay with the feelings and the emotions of screwing up. We have to be okay with the fact that we're going to be going at things wrong. Sometimes we do go at something like a bull in a china shop when it's better to be a cat slinking in between the plates. And it's okay if we have the wrong thoughts, because we are men. We have our certain sets of flaws. Same as women, they have a certain set of flaws. There are shortcomings, and when you have a man and a woman together, that's one reason why I have started talking to my son a bit about marriage, and because I know that his last full girlfriend, the chaos machine that is out, that he dated for a while, really kind of wigged him out a bit marriage is difficult. You're going to have those hard discussions. You're going to have those hard talks. Your son's going to drive you up the damn wall. We joke around so many times that our kids are giving us gray hair. In all reality, that getting that gray hair is such a sign of a milestone, the signs of respect and the signs of maturity. And that, we joke, and that's how men handle a lot of stressful items, is we joke with each other. And that's something a lot of people a lot of the feminists don't understand, is we make dark jokes. We make very, very inappropriate humor at inappropriate times. These are things that make men, and we are proud to be men. We are glad to be men, and I am glad to be a man, and I'm glad that you, being a man, are listening to this show. And if you want to be able to figure out what's going on with yourself and why you're having trouble connecting with your son, I've got several different packages that are available that I can offer you, and you can decide how you want to address. I mean, I've got things from just a little simple package that allows you to be able to start getting yourself down the road. A little 3-month package up to year-long packages, and I've even got a package that at the end of it, you and your son and us can all get together, go out on a camping trip, and have a session, a deep, dedicated session of being able to see where things are off kilter, off track, and how we can get ourselves get you two back onto track, so that y'all are working as the team as you originally dreamt of doing. We also have, there's a lot of different ways that you can become the man that you are wanting to be. And it's okay. Pursue being the best man possible, because that's what we are out to actually do. All right. So thanks for sitting through this incredibly long 2-part episode. And we're okay. All right. You're going to hear people complain about being in the man box, and just be okay with that. Go, yeah, proud of it too. It takes that power away from them. We're not going to be victims. We're not ever have been victims. And talking through this and writing out this, I realized that that's what I was wanting to look at this as people attacking the power of masculinity. And in all reality, no, they are afraid. The reason why they're attacking masculinity is because they are afraid of what's in themselves. And so we can become stronger. We can become better, and we can become even more masculine than before. And we can embrace that masculinity and be proud of it. So anyhow, thank you for listening. If you made it through both of these episodes, dude, bravo. I applaud you, because wow. If you share this out, if you come across somebody who is maybe facing a case of man box, or think that are being told that they're being in a man box, or that they're exhibiting massive amounts of toxic masculinity, share these 2 episodes out with them, and let them know that, dude, there's a place that you can go, that you don't have to worry about being called a man and be called that as something that is that's a shameful part. If you happen to know of a college student who is struggling with being a man in society, and sees that can't quite understand why everybody thinks men are horrible, share this with them. Share this podcast with them. You share it out, let people know, give this to people who you believe it would benefit. You don't have to use it as a tool going, see, I'm right. This is what he thinks. You're not going to convince anybody different. If they believe that men are horrible, terrible, awful creatures, no matter what you show to them, it's going to be the case. But if you stand on your foundation, stand on your beliefs, and stand strong on those and don't waver, you actually build the integrity and the respect that you actually desire and deserve. All right. So thanks for listening. If you are a Apple Podcast listener, please go over to the Apple Podcast app, rate this podcast, and give it a review. This isn't helping me get up in the ranks more, but it gives social proof that this show is actually really good and allows for people to allows people to see it more, and because what actually gets us up in the ranks higher is the number of subscriptions that we have at one time. If you are listening to this on any other podcast catcher out there, you can go over to relaxedmale.com/podchaser, and that's PODCHASER. And you can, that will take you over to the Relaxed Male Podchaser page. And there you can rate and review. And I would love to have some ratings and reviews there. I think Podchaser is doing an incredible job of being kind of the IMDb of podcasting. And I think it would do us all a great service in the world of podcasting, and for podcast listeners, if they were people to start going to Podchaser more and using that as a means to being able to see, is this a good enough show? Because from there you can subscribe to Apple and Google and everything. So, and if you would like to subscribe to this podcast and you're just listening to it through the phone, maybe someone sent you this MP3, you can actually go to relaxedmale.com/subscribe, and I will give you a whole slew of ways that you can subscribe. I have got everything. We just added another app to the mix, and it is actually called Good Pods. And it's interesting. It's kind of, they're calling themselves a social media of podcasting. So there's been a couple of those around, but you know, if you use Good Pods, you can actually click that link and it will take you to my landing page on the app, and you can subscribe there and listen to the podcast from that. So, all right. So I have talked long enough. We have crossed the 2-hour mark according to this. Been a heck of a talking marathon. I need a drink, and so I'm going to let you go, guys. Take care, stand strong, and we will talk to you next week. Till then, bye.